This video was uploaded on the day of the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, who has been the head of state of the United Kingdom for all of mine and my parents' lives. She was 96, she was old and frail, and yet, idiotically, I can say her death came as a shock, and with sincere personal sadness. This video will come in two parts. I'm going to try to explain why Elizabeth II's death came with shock and sadness, and then I'll put across something like an argument in favour of monarchism. My hope isn't to convince you to become monarchist. I don't think I can, but I hope to at least help you to understand. Elizabeth II became queen at the tail end of the post-war recession. A new world was taking shape, where Britain's role was uncertain, being supplanted as the preeminent world power by the United States. At Queen Elizabeth II's coronation, there was no mention of empire, as there was at previous coronations. She became queen in the world of mine and many other Britain's grandparents, and since then, through decolonisation, the changing of British prime ministers, the changing of US presidents, revolutions, and changes of regimes in various countries around the world, Elizabeth II has been a constant throughout it all. It can probably be said, with little protest, that she was the most famous living human in world history. Elizabeth II was a constant, a reassuring symbol of tradition and continuity. The sense of sadness which her death gives me is difficult to explain. It was obvious that it would happen someday, but she's been a constant presence for so long that it felt like she was part of the furniture of the nation. With her death, some link between the world I know today and the world which my parents and grandparents knew at my age has been broken. Monarchs provide an easy splitting up of history. Her death is the ending of the Second Elizabethan era. But still, the celebration of monarchy in the modern world is by all accounts bizarre. It sometimes seems that we've grown beyond monarchy, that we can do better. It is the current year, after all. How can we still have a monarchy? Well, what we perceive as modern, and obviously correct, versus archaic, so obviously incorrect, isn't decided by the passing of time. The correct versus the outdated is decided by culture, not by the year. It's not that we are correct and the past is wrong. The world and culture simply changes. It doesn't change forward in a straight line. It changes in any direction on countless matters. It isn't a valid argument to dismiss the monarchy as old-fashioned, simply because other countries don't have it. The argument that it is the current year, not just in relation to monarchy, reflects an incredibly naive perception of culture and the past. But what can be said is that monarchy is irrational, costly, and arguably inefficient. There may be economic arguments for removing the monarchy. There may be economic arguments for keeping the monarchy. But these arguments aren't relevant to what monarchy is. Monarchy exists because we, as humans, appreciate tradition. We appreciate ritual for ritual's sake. In 2011, the last Austrian Emperor King died. Otto von Habsburg was never crowned Emperor King. He was 6 when Austria-Hungary collapsed, and yet he was still given a huge funeral, as the last surviving genuine royal member of the royal family. Former portions of Austria-Hungary went into mourning for 13 days to commemorate his death, and celebrate a world which once existed, but was now gone. All of the countries involved were republics. In 2021, when the 46th President of the United States was inaugurated, it was marked with a vast ritual, a costly, inefficient waste of resources. This event has no reason or purpose. After private donations are removed, it still costs every US household $1, and it costs the government months of time which would be better spent governing. The succession of a US president could simply occur the day after an election, with no pomp or circumstance, But it doesn't. We appreciate it as a spectacular ritualistic event, laden with symbolism and tradition, celebrating where the modern US is and where it has come from. It serves no purpose, and yet nobody would seriously argue that the Inauguration, which occurs every 4 years, should be abolished. Monarchy is an embodiment of that same attitude. It's an embodiment of tradition, celebrating the past, where Britain came from and where it is, of spectacularly costly ritual, of whimsy, of irrationality, of pure unadulterated silliness. We can see in the US and former Austria-Hungary that the removal of a monarchy does not remove this cultural appetite for costly, wasteful ritual. It simply changes the rituals. Monarchy is, by its very nature, eccentric and messy. But that's the fun. It's us. It's Britain. It's not rational in any sense of the word. At the end of the day, it's human.